Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the Hospitality Room presented by Mascot Media. Bobby Swofford, Blair Cartwright. We're coming to you early this week. It's a busy week. It was a busy week last week. Mr. Swofford, how are you? Have you recovered? How busy is your week this week?
Have I recovered? No, I have not. To answer that question, we did miss a golden opportunity last week. You and I were in the same hospitality room and didn't record an episode of the
We
pod.
were.
Disappointed in ourselves for that, but we were too busy shoving our
Yeah.
face with prime rib because that's normal in a hospitality room, apparently.
Yes. But there was no crock pot. So technically,
Yeah,
we're not bound to record anything without a crock pot nearby in
yeah,
the hospitality room.
yeah. No crock pots, but prime rib. That's how they do it in Northwest Arkansas these days.
Yeah. Oh, it was
Yeah,
good. It was
yeah.
good. And you
So
made every
between
site,
last,
right?
I hit 5 of the 6. I did not get to the 2A site.
Okay.
Just because there's only 5 days of state tournaments. If there was a 6th day, I would have been there. But between the Friday previous through Saturday, I drove 2,200 miles. So
Wow.
put a lot of miles on the car, watched a lot of basketball, heard a lot of over the back from the fans, even though that's not a real actual foul. And just going to do it all over. Got 12 more games this week with some state championships, and I got to the office about 7:05 this morning, and we're going to grind away until there's no more time left in the day.
Yes. It is March and the madness has begun. And it is
Yes.
glorious. All right, so let's get right to our topics. And we start first with basketball. It is state championship week. Games start Thursday. Arkansas PBS has the broadcast. You're a part of
Hmm.
that. And there are some awesome matchups. Tickets, by the way, on sale tomorrow, Tuesday.
Hmm.
What a lineup of games!
Yeah.
Incredible.
Really cool. A lot of Bulldogs, as you can tell by the graphic. They're going to be playing this
Yeah.
week. I think we got 25% representation of Bulldogs. But I mean, you look up and down at some of those matchups. I mean, you've got Barton, who's been number one all season long in 2A, but had to rally from double digits down in the fourth quarter. They've never won a state title. D Queen and Pulaski Academy never won state titles in the 4A girls. Morrilton goes on the road and beats Magnolia on their home floor to get
Yep.
the championship game. And Magnolia hasn't lost in their own arena since 2019. I mean,
Oh
so it's just
wow.
really impressive to see some of the fresh blood, some of the new faces, if you will. And you've got Lamar and Dover, literally 15 miles apart,
Ooh.
scoring off for the 3A girls. And then I don't know if you could ask for better matchups in 5A and 6A boys. I mean, to be
Oh
quite
no.
honest, you get 5A, you got the two highest scoring teams in the state. Both scored 95 or more in one game in the state tournament. And then the 6A game, you've got high level Division One talent. Kellen Robinson from Bryant is going to go and play for Little Rock. They've got a couple other players who have Division One offers, and of course Isaiah Seeley from Springdale is signed to play for the Razorbacks. We got some talents going to be on display in Hot Springs this week, no doubt.
It is going to be unbelievable. And of course, the state tournaments games that led up to the
Mm,
championship games, incredible. They were streamed on the Arkansas Activity Association app and website. And I
mm-hmm.
think the most incredible play, and if folks you didn't see it, here it is. Elkins down three
Yeah,
in the final
Quick
seconds.
shot off. Here we go. They get it to Hallam. Three-pointer on the way. It's up. It's good. Good. Oh, my God. He hit it. They called a foul, too, on the
there it
three-pointer.
was.
He
They
knifed
hits the three
Yeah.
and draws the foul, hits the free throw, takes down the number one seed, Riverview. What I
I
mean,
mean,
that kid may not do anything ever the rest of his life, but they should build him a statue in Elkins for that shot right there.
indeed. I mean, he doesn't have to. I mean, what a memory. And
Yeah,
that's the great thing about March. But I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen a 4-point play at the buzzer win a
yeah,
game.
yeah. And I saw the floor angle from a different media outlet, and it's clearly a foul. I mean, they tackled him, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like it was a nitpicky thing. You see plays like that, and then Fayetteville girls get to overtime against the top ranked team, top 25 team in the country in Conway. They force the extra period and pull out the upset there, and they get to the championship game. I mean, March Madness is just if you don't like it, you don't have a pulse. It doesn't matter if it's high
Yeah.
school, college, whatever. It's just awesome.
You cannot script this stuff. And that's why
No,
we
you
love
can't.
sports. and that's why sports TV rights are
Yeah.
through the roof because
Yeah,
we
we probably
can't get
should have
enough.
known. Yeah, we should have known it was going to be a wild week because the first 2 days, which is all the 1 versus 4
Hmm.
matchups in 1A through 5A, and it goes up to 6A in Arkansas, 9 4 seeds pulled an upset. Is the most anybody could remember happening in 1 year. And we knew it was going to be kind of crazy. And the 6A girls, and for those who don't watch sports in Arkansas on a regular basis, girls basketball in Arkansas, especially at the highest level, is really good. I
Hmm.
mean, producing Division I talent at multiple schools every year. And so you're thinking, okay, you got a nationally ranked team, 2 teams that won 13 conference games in the league, and then the semifinals you have a 3, a 4, and a 5. It's like all the top level teams get upset, and now here it is, Fort Smith Northside, which is perennially a state title
Hmm.
contender anyway, and then
Yes.
Fayetteville. I'll say the same thing about them. Of course, they find a way to get to the finals again.
Yeah, it's just incredible, and it's just, and we knew. I mean, the regionals were last week, and there were
Yeah,
some wild games then, so we
yeah.
knew this last week was going to be special. So it just makes you can't wait for the championship games.
Mm-hmm. I know
Man,
Thursday can't get here fast enough, but there's also not
no,
enough time between now and Thursday to get everything done.
yes, which is yeah. So it's crazy. All right, so let's go on to our next topic: the Razorbacks. Calipari, they win 2 straight. It appears
Mm-hmm.
they're locked for the tournament, and now they get a chance. They play in the SEC tournament Wednesday, the first game against South Carolina. I don't know that they'll make a run, but I think they're safely in the tournament, don't you?
No, I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I think they have to win on Wednesday against South Carolina. Uh,
Hmm.
I believe I said this last week, maybe the week before. They did make all that ground up, and you get
Yeah.
embarrassed at South Carolina. Then you win a couple in a row, and now you got South Carolina again. If you lose to the worst team in the conference twice in the
Well,
last
yeah.
month of the season, you can't say that you're a lock, especially with 13 losses. To me, you beat South Carolina, and it gets you to that magic number of 20 victories. You get to 20 wins, 9 in the SEC. I know the tournament doesn't count for the record like that, but you get to 9
Hmm.
wins in the conference, 20 wins overall. To me, Arkansas would be a lock. If you lose to South Carolina, leave it up to the committee. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, two losses to a South Carolina team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably not worthy of. That's probably NIT bound. So that's
Mm-hmm.
solid point. A team that has matters in its own hand. Arkansas State, both the men and the women playing today, Sun Belt Championships. I don't know if the women have ever made the tournament. I
Mm-hmm.
know the men have gone once, so this could be a very historic day in Northeast
Yeah.
Arkansas.
Yeah, on the men's side, it's crazy to think Arkansas State tied for the best record in the conference and got the 4 seed in the league tournament.
Yeah.
That's how wild the Sun Belt is. Obviously they beat the number 1 seed in South Alabama, which had a former Razorback as well, Barry Dunning, in the semifinals. So it'd be really, really cool to see the Red Wolves get into the big dance, both the men and the women. Obviously, I think women's basketball is on the rise in this state. I think the high school level is really good. Central Arkansas finished second in their league. They're playing in their conference semifinal tomorrow on Tuesday. They got a chance to maybe get to the finals again for a second straight year. Women's basketball on the rise unless you wear a Razorbacks uniform, and hopefully that's corrected next year.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if the ASU men win, they may be looking for a new head coach.
Yeah, you got. I mean, I understand that they signed him to the extension through like 2030. There's not a
Yeah.
chance in the world they can afford to keep him.
No.
Somebody's going to come
Power
call him.
Yeah. Power 5 team is going to poach him at some point. Razorback Baseball swept Portland over the weekend, won midweek. 15-1 conference play starts now. So the real season begins. I guess we will find out what they're made of at Ole
Yep.
Miss this weekend.
Yeah, I mean,
Fair
so you
enough.
say same thing about the softball team as you can the baseball team. You beat up on who you're supposed to, and all of a sudden you play some good teams. Like, what are you going to do? Now, Arkansas has played a good team already. A couple of them down in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You probably feel a little better about them. The softball team, they took a couple on the chin to Ole Miss, and
Yes.
see, and you got Oklahoma coming into town this weekend,
Yeah.
and that's good transition
Number
there.
one.
Um,
Yeah. Number
to me,
one.
for Arkansas baseball, yeah, you need to go out and play well, and you're not going to win every game. And I say it all the time. You got to meatloaf these series. If you take 2 out of 3, it ain't bad. You just can keep doing that. You're going to be in the position you want to. As far as softball, you drop 2 or 3. Yeah, you put up a 20 spot against Ole Miss. That's great and all, but the graphic says it all. Number 1's coming to town, and You think you've played some good competition until the Sooners roll in. So Arkansas needs to prove that they can play with the nation's best on a consistent basis before I think people like you and I become believers. You can have fans all you want, but until you win some meaningful games against realistic competition, yeah, I don't know if I'm a believer yet.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to think, but second weekend of conference season sets the tone for the rest of your year.
Mm-hmm.
You're either rolling or you're chasing at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, realistically, Arkansas can be 1-5 after this week in conference play, softball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and good luck making up ground in the SEC as loaded as
Right.
it is.
But I mean, it's just like it is with basketball. I mean, what they play? They play 30 games in softball as well, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're anywhere near 500 in the SEC in league play, you're a lock to be a host.
Yeah.
In a regional.
Yeah, but then it's seeding and everything else. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll be an electric atmosphere at Bogle Park, no question about it. All right, let's get to football. We'll start. There's so much going on, but we'll kind of go in chronological order.
Yeah.
As it went nuts. The first big move: Geno Smith traded from the Seahawks to the Raiders of all places.
Yeah.
For a third-round pick.
Yeah.
And your initial thoughts when you heard this?
Yeah, so the initial thought was, especially with all the DK Metcalf rumors at the time were floating around with Seattle. They had just cut Tyler Lockett. We're like, okay, what are they working on now? If all of a sudden they trade Geno for a third, I'll probably poach a graphic from later. They get a second for DK Metcalf. Now you think Seattle's got some ammunition to go up and get a quarterback, but they already did that today. So I like the move for both teams, to be quite honest, because the Raiders are nowhere near a position to draft a quarterback, or maybe they're not in love with the quarterbacks that they have, and so they get somebody that can be a stopgap guy for a year or two. And then Seattle obviously gets their guy for the next couple of years, and now they've got extra draft picks to go out and replace those receivers that they just got rid of.
Well, it just shows you how much influence Pete Carroll has now with the Raiders to go get his former quarterback in Seattle, Geno Smith, who I don't think anybody anticipated being traded. We kind of assumed that was going to stay. And then the next bombshell was, as you mentioned, Seattle sends Metcalf to the Steelers. And your initial thought is, well, that's great for the Steelers. What are the Seahawks doing?
Yeah. Well, so they get a second rounder for him. They don't have to. They clear all that cap space because he's going to be a free agent at the end of next year. And the Steelers turn around and give him a $150 million contract for 5 years. That includes obviously this coming year. And so to me, it's a win-win for both. Yes, you don't want to lose a player like DK Metcalf, but if he's not going to re-sign with you anyway, you might as well get some compensation for it. Second-round picks, obviously, as good as you're going to get. I know a lot of teams, including me, we're hoping that their team, maybe the Patriots, go out and get him. But the question is, okay, what's the value? Like Seattle is getting the second round from Pittsburgh, and I don't have the picks in front of me. That's probably in the mid-40s, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit lower. The Patriots would have been giving up pick number 36. And so I don't know if you could justify saying, oh, is he worth 36 compared to 45 or 50? Either way, you're splitting hairs. I think it's a good get for both. Problem is, Pittsburgh's now got some receivers. They don't have a quarterback.
Yes.
And now they don't have the money to go get a quarterback.
Yeah, because you're going to give Metcalf, 5 years, $150 million?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and then.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. And then the big one.
Yeah.
Josh Allen breaks the bank, $330 million, $250 million, a quarter of $1 billion guaranteed.
Yeah, I kind of wish my parents would have gone back in time and waited, 25 years to have a kid, and then turned me into a quarterback instead of an offensive tackle. Because you can make some money these days playing quarterback in the National Football League. It's unreal. And honestly, other than getting to a Super Bowl, Josh Allen's done everything you could possibly ask of him. And I thought they should have been the team that went out and got DK Metcalf. You put them, a superstar receiver, and what he's been able to kind of hodgepodge with a bunch of nobodies, essentially. They should have went out and got him a number one.
Yeah. But it was just mind-boggling when you saw this number. And, of course, your first thought is, don't tell me the NFL's not making money.
Oh, God.
If they can pay this.
We're starting to see these contracts. Obviously, Mahomes got one that they're going to renegotiate every year from now until eternity. But when the salary cap jumps over $70 million like in the last 3 years like it has, somebody's going to reward. And obviously, that these players are starting to cash in, and some of the contracts we're seeing today handed out it's unreal.
Oh, it's mind-boggling. So then things started breaking. Devontae Adams goes to the Rams, who were like this close to running off Stafford. Now
Yeah.
have Stafford and Devontae Adams, and boy, in the course of what 5 days, their team looks really solid.
Yeah, I mean, they have now replaced the Jets as the hey, we're going to win now mentality. We're going to go out and pay the veterans, the guys who can help us win immediately. We're not investing in youth. That's what they do, obviously, with Stafford. Wouldn't be completely shocked if they redo a deal with Cooper Kupp. Obviously,
Yeah.
Nakua's there. Maybe bring Kupp in a reduced role as a number 3 receiver, but they got Higbee, the tight end. They've got some good weapons. I think McVay's one of the top 5 or 10 coaches in the league. Obviously, a great offensive mind. I kind of like what the Rams are doing, to be honest. And if they can convince Aaron Donald to come out of retirement, they're really cooking.
No doubt. Well, it's not, and granted, they said Cooper Kupp was available, but just the chemistry that he and Stafford have, you think would be valuable. But Adams, a 2-year deal, $46 million, which is a ton of money. Now seems after the Josh Allen deal like couch change.
Yeah, I mean, especially when Jamar Chase and T Higgins or some of these receivers, what Justin Jefferson got last year, 30 mil. I mean, 23 million is not a bargain, especially for an aging Adams who hasn't been great the last couple of years. But maybe if you put him, with Nakua, maybe he's not the focal point of an entire offense like he's been with Green Bay and the Jets. Maybe he gives you a little more production.
But he's got a Taco Bell in his house. So I mean,
that too.
For team chemistry, that's huge. Then Myles Garrett, who wants out of Cleveland, wants nothing to do with them. Signs is going to stay in Cleveland.
Yeah, I think Pro Football Talk said it best in the tweet. I was like, "There's no problem in the world that a pile of cash won't fix." I was like, I don't want to play here. I want to play for a contender. Oh, you want to give me $40 million a year? Okay, I'll play for you.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I mean, yeah, that one I think floored a lot of people because. So that was just, I don't know. Obviously, it's like the guys that sign those huge deals with teams that stink and then bitch, 2 years later because they want to win. You get what you asked for.
Yeah.
Calmly, Adam Jones re-signs with the Vikings.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he had a great year. I mean, obviously, he stays in that division. Aaron Jones was really good for Green Bay, and then all of a sudden here in Minnesota, you like what they're doing. Obviously, they think J.J. McCarthy is going to be able to be a plug and play guy at quarterback. You never know. I like the move because of that. You've got now the rookie contract with your quarterback. You need to give him some weapons. So you got to pay him. You got to pay Jefferson. You've got Hawkinson. You've got Jordan Addison on the other side. I mean, they've got some weapons for a young quarterback to be successful as long as they protect him.
And we're starting to see running backs.
The value's going up.
Here's one getting $10 million a year. Chiefs signed Nick Bolton to a 3-year, $45 million deal. They tagged Smith, and then I just saw that they signed the 49ers left tackle to protect Mahomes when everybody thought they were going to get the Ravens left tackle. So, and then you got the whole Xavier Worthy thing, which, good Lord. Maybe we need to stop drafting guys out of the state of Texas because they keep getting in trouble. So,
yeah.
I mean,
well, the first big offensive line domino came with Ronnie Stanley, as you just mentioned, re-signing with the Ravens. And I think that sent a lot of teams scrambling, if you will. Like, okay, what's the next best option? And it kind of seems like that the Bears have signed or traded for every player possible. But, you go out and get a tackle. After you trade Tooney, you sign Elijah Mitchell as well, the running back. He's probably got a few more miles on the tires. But, you get Bolton. Smith has already signed the franchise tag I saw this morning. So I think Kansas City's making the smart moves. The question is, like them and a lot of other teams, what are you going to do at receiver? Because you got to really help, Mahomes get some targets.
Yes. And they did re-sign Hollywood Brown, which surprised me, at $11 million. We still don't know what he is. So, That'll be interesting. So we go back to Pittsburgh. Now the question is, you got DK Metcalf, you got George Pickens, who may or may be with the team. We'll see how that goes. But who's your quarterback?
Yeah, and since you made the graphic, 2 of those 4 are no longer available. As Fields
Yeah.
signed with the Jets, Darnold signs
he
with the
did.
Seahawks. Yeah, he got
Ooh.
2 years, I think $40 million from the Jets. So now you're down to Wilson, Rodgers, maybe Zach Wilson. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what the move is for Pittsburgh. And you got George Pickens, who's a diva on one side. You got DK Metcalf on the other. You've got the tight ends, Freiermuth, who's a good player, but you let Najee Harris go. I think Pittsburgh's kind of in a place that football fans hate. They're kind of in purgatory. They're in that constant 7-10 to 10-7 record where you might make the playoffs, but either way, you're not getting a good draft pick.
Yes.
And so they're kind of stuck in the middle, and they got to find a quarterback if they're going to be successful. And it's starting to feel like that's a place where Aaron Rodgers is going to end up because they need to win. They need to win now, and the division's not getting any easier.
No, but it just strikes me odd that you're gonna make the move to get Metcalf, and you have no idea, and you're gonna give him big money, which is rare for them to do offensively, and you have no idea who's gonna throw him the ball.
Yeah. And what kind of salary cap you got?
Ooh, yeah. So that'll be interesting.
I don't know if these numbers are going to be completely updated with all the moves that have been done today, but the Steelers look like they've got almost $60 million in cap space, so they got some wiggle room.
Yeah, but I don't know.
To me, I think I said this morning to Mr. Bertuccini up there in Northwest Arkansas. I think we're going to see the quarterback landscape, other than Darnold now and Fields, really slow down. I think they're going to wait and see, and I also think teams are going to wait on Aaron Rodgers to see how low they can get that number, kind of negotiate him down, because he's going to try to command 35 or 40 million. But if you can convince Aaron Rodgers to come in and play for 18 or 20 million dollars, he's a lot more attractive doing that than he would be on the inflated deal he got with the Jets and obviously with the Packers.
Yes, but my question would be: would his ego allow himself?
Correct.
To do that.
Well, so there's 2 things there. What's that? The ego wants this, but you're not going to get it. So I think he's going to have to humble himself. Otherwise, he's going to be unemployed.
True. Yeah. So, and the bigger question too with the Steelers, do you want Russell Wilson back or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was clear Justin Fields didn't want to give them the time of day because he thought he was disrespected after being benched going 4-2 in those first 6 games. And so he wanted out. Granted, he's going to a dumpster fire of the Jets. They're cleaning house, new head coach. Doesn't have a lot. I mean, you got Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, which are very, very good, but they haven't been able to stay healthy and utilize them very well. So we'll see if he can be successful there in a division where New England you think is going to be a lot better. Buffalo's obviously running that thing, and Miami, you don't really know what they are at this point.
Yeah, no one knows, and it all depends on if Tua is healthy or not. So then Seattle lands Darnold, which in a sense they had to.
Yes.
The question is whether or not they overpaid. 3 years, $100 million. I mean, the Vikings let him walk out of the building after having 16 great weeks and 2 bad ones. $55 million guaranteed. I don't know who he's throwing to, who he's handing off to, but they got their guy. So now, as we go to the generic graphic, I mean, who's out there? Kirk Cousins, which is not a long-term proposition.
But he's not officially available yet. And most people he think he's going to be, but he's not been released yet from Atlanta.
Yeah, suppose he's already telling Atlanta he wants to go somewhere where he can start and maybe make the playoffs. But it's like, man, if you're a playoff contender, I don't know. He's the answer. The draft, certainly, there's a lot of question marks, which it doesn't mean that somebody can't be a Brock Purdy type and in the right situation have success. But it's just fascinating to see how all this plays out.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. I'm pecking around here and not having much success doing it. I'm trying to find out what the picks had that Seattle has. Because what's the next move for Seattle? And obviously they get Darnold. They've got some ammunition now. So if they want to move up and get a quarterback of the future, either way. And so now you look at what's available. Best players available, if you will. I mean, since we started this podcast, 20 minutes ago, players are flying off the board left and right.
Yeah,
you got
it's a good day to be an
defensive
agent.
man for the Bears. The Bears, I swear, the Bears have either signed or traded for every available offensive lineman out there, which is great.
Which is
move
smart.
for them. Yeah, yes. Absolutely. I don't know why every team's not doing that. But you look at, tight end Farrell goes to the Jaguars. Josh Sweat, another big time player for the Eagles defense, signs with the Cardinals. Hufanga, the safety for the 49ers, goes to Denver with the Broncos, 3 years, up to $45 million. So we're taping this, at 2:00 on a Monday, and it's literally changing as we get words out of our mouth. I don't know how you can't love this either. I'm not getting any work done today, by the way. I'm just literally watching the free agency ticker. How
would you like to be Adam Schefter's phone?
No. So with all my hours in the car this week, I've never listened to his podcast, and so I actually turned it on, and he was talking about how he finally bought him a new phone.
Really?
So I guess he had an iPhone 13, which is 3 models old now. And so ESPN gave him a 15, and he's like, "This is not even the newest model," and they wouldn't give him a 16. And so he went to the store to go try to buy a new one. He tried to trade in the old one. It's like, "Well, this is owned by somebody else. You can't do that." So he finally got a 16, and he says it's by far his busiest week of the year. Is free agency.
Wow. Okay,
he always used to have the BlackBerry.
Yeah.
I want to with that much. I wonder if he has an AFC and an NFC phone. One's red and one's blue.
That's a good idea.
And how to pick it up and oh, okay, here we go.
So ESPN is going to pay Stephen A. $20 million plus whatever. They can't even buy Schefter a new phone.
I can't even get him a 16. He's probably getting a refurb 15 from somebody.
That is unbelievable. And that also speaks volumes about problems with ESPN. All right.
Got mail.
Quickly, we'll go to the mailbag. Is spring football still important now the kids can hit the portal after it finishes? This was, I think, from Russ.
Yeah.
You're the former player. You tell me.
Is spring football important? Absolutely. Because you got to develop your young players. And that's the best place to do it because they don't get a lot of reps in the fall. If you make a bowl game, you get a free month of practice, which is obviously big. I think what we're going to see, and maybe this question's alluding to it, is how important is the spring game? And that's what teams are starting to get rid of is that spring game because now, because a lot of them are televised, or at least streamed. If you don't put it on TV, that means other colleges can't see it. I think we're going to start to see more and more schools go away from spring games and have closed practices.
I did hear Pittman say that he was going to continue to do it because the fans want it. Now, it may not be the ones versus ones. It'll be more of a scripted, simulation type deal. Because ones are going against ones in practice all the time. No need to continue doing that. I get that. But also, let's not kid ourselves. Tampering is going on all the time. And your school's tampering, my school's tampering, everybody's tampering. So let's not – it's funny. I mean, it's just...
So I think one thing that the SEC is going to be faced with, I wonder if the conference is mandating that they have spring games because they're already on the schedule to sell advertising in.
Yes, they need programming. Very good point. Oh, we've got one more, so we'll save it for next week. We'll go ahead and roll into the final thoughts as we enter the 10-second window.
Hey, NFL free agency is like crack. I don't do drugs, but put it in my veins. I want it right now. I need more of it.
Basketball in Hot Springs.